Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of What's the Nerd. This week, we bring you a very special episode as we dive into the Predator franchise. Since we have gotten our first true looks at Predator, Killer of Killers, and Predator Badlands, I want to start off the conversation talking about Predator, Killer of Killers. Leighton, what were some highlights you noticed in that trailer?
For me, it was just the fact that we get three separate timelines or at least settings throughout the entirety of the film. I thought that's pretty cool, especially in animated form. I feel like when there's an animated movie, uh, even though it's easier or probably less expensive to animate action than to build a bunch of set pieces and film it in live action, I feel like there's a lot more character development and kind of slower pacing in today's animated projects. And the fact that we're going to get three settings means that they're probably all going to be pretty fast paced, action heavy, because if you have to flesh out three stories of three elite killing predators facing off against warriors in different timelines, like you don't really have time to develop backstories for the human character for that predator. Not really in the runtime of an entire movie. So that gives me hope that it's going to be pretty action packed. So that was a highlight for me.
Without a doubt, and something that really drew my attention in was from the very beginning of the trailer. We finally got a Predator in feudal Japan.
Yeah, that's
I think
dope.
that's something fans have been really excited or really hoping for a super long time. And it's pretty cool to finally see that come to fruition. And then on top of that, we also have the Viking era, and we also have the story of a World War II fighter pilot. That's a take I never saw coming, personally.
Right.
Aerial combat with a Predator, that's pretty cool.
That's super cool. And I wonder if like the Predator's gonna have like a wingsuit or if he's gonna have a ship or like I know that we kind of saw glimpses of this of the ship in the trailer, but I don't you don't really know how it's spliced together and what elements are involved. But
Yeah, it's something where, and you also brought up a very good point of how to flesh things out, what you can do, what you can't. Something I like is we're pretty much going to get two Predator projects released within, what is it, less than 6 months of one another.
maybe, yeah. I know it's pretty close.
So having that freedom of an animated series where you have a little bit more, or an animated movie where you have a little bit more wiggle room in terms of budget, where you don't have to worry about practical effects, which we know not only the Predator franchise, but the Alien franchise use very heavily. So you get a little bit more freedom on what the predators look like, how you can really,
Yes, I like
explore
that.
that world without going crazy on budget.
It kind of feels like the perfect like revival for the franchise. Like I know we had Prey after like the last two Predator movies before that were not well received, and like that kind of ignited the fandom again. But it kind of gives me like Star Wars Clone Wars vibes, where it was like, okay, we did the prequels. It was really hard to beat Revenge of the Sith. It was like the best movie ever. Where do we go from here? And people really wanted to explore the prequel era more. And I feel like that's kind of what's going on here. It's like we get to go to different, eras that technically take place in the past that could flesh out the entirety of the clan of the predator species and give us more backstory, but do it in an animated like version, like we were saying earlier, where it's like you can do more action, you can introduce different characters, you can give them a cool art style, but still make it feel very canon and like we're in that familiar Predator world. Because I will say, like the like all the action they showed us, the gory moments, the cool primal sci-fi mix of weaponry, does feel very, very like similar to what we got in the live action films. Like
Yeah,
it's very Predator DNA, right? Like it doesn't feel like someone took the franchise and then just spun it to where it's unrecognizable, and that I really appreciate.
yeah. And something I like too, I don't know if I'm pretty sure you did see this show on Netflix, Blue Eye Samurai.
I don't know if I did.
If you haven't, I recommend it, but the Predator Killer of Killers animation style is very similar to that,
Okay.
which I appreciate because it fits with the type of story that it is. It's
Okay.
not afraid to be a little more gruesome, be a little bit more R-rated. Like it'll definitely, I think, fit the franchise very well.
Okay.
And I, I just think it's kind of like the perfect. I don't want to say appetizer because I think it's going to be a great project in its own right. But we know that we have this incredible live action movie on the horizon. We get a little taste of the Predator before then, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Especially when, let's be real, Alien Romulus was sensational early at. the end of last year. That was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, and it was
Like that
again another
movie,
revival for the franchise, right? Like
and it feels like we're in a good spot overall where they're bringing this franchise back where Prometheus was a great film, Covenant
not so
not
great.
so much. Some of the newer iterations of the Predator, you saw what they were going for, but they weren't great. And then Prey was incredible, but it felt like just a one-off, hey, this is super cool, we're doing something different, and that was it.
And it was still a
And now
straight
we're
to TV release film.
yes. And on top of that, you've heard in the background that the director of Prey, the director of Romulus are in favor of rebooting Alien vs. Predator.
Which is wild.
And something we have to remember is the guy who did Prey is doing Badlands.
Right, right.
So and on top of all of that, you have the series Alien Earth coming out on Hulu as well.
Yep.
So we've got kind of a incredible amount of media coming with a lot of coming off the backs of some really good projects. Like if they can nail these, like we might be looking at a true full reboot of Alien vs.
And
Predator.
getting to watch them kind of like take place in the same time, like in our current world, like in the real world, is super super cool. It because like it
Yeah.
kind of feels like right now this moment in just film and TV feels revolutionary because it feels like we're getting the Fantastic Four. We're getting like the first Marvel comic book family to the big screen this summer. We're getting Superman, the first superhero for DC and the most recognizable. We're getting like a reboot for the entire DCU. Now we're getting reboots for this franchise for both Predator and Alien, right? Like insanity. And we're also going to get
Yep.
the culmination of the MCU next year with Doomsday. Like there's a lot of and now Wicked Part 2, like all these big major blockbusters are finally coming back and bringing people to the movies. And I feel like that's what this industry needs because like I think a lot of people were worried that it was just going to go to streaming services, that people were going to shut down theaters, right? Because they weren't making a lot of money, but what I think the problem was that there just weren't quality exciting films being put out there. No one really had any reason to go to the theater. But I mean, hell, you have Revenge of the Sith just came back to theaters last weekend and made $30 million. It's a 20-year-old film. So it's like, you put something out that people,
Want to
enjoy,
see, they're gonna go.
they're gonna go. It's
And I
insane.
think it's cool, like you touched on a lot of different genres in your breakdown there, but it's showing that like all of these different genres that have different groups of fans and have overlap are finally getting something they could sink their teeth into.
Yeah,
Like, and I like that Predator Killers of Killers is going to be a straight to Hulu release, kind of like Alien Earth. So
right.
you're getting this combination of these franchises getting something on the animated side that's going to be straight to streaming, but then you're also piggybacking that off big projects and
Yes.
creating more draw for the theater. And I think we got to dive right into Predator Badlands because I haven't been this hyped for a Predator film or a movie in general probably in quite a long time.
Yeah, let's do it.
And a couple of the things that I like that they're doing choice wise, I've heard some different breakdowns about what kind of some of the story beats are, which I'm going to dive into a little bit because there was an individual that did get to watch the first 20 minutes of this movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm not sure who the individual was. I heard it from another like third party stream I was watching before. I just thought I was curious to listen in.
Yeah.
So it gives some story elements to the trailer as well. But one thing I think is really cool is we are finally getting a Predator film where your Predator is the protagonist.
Yeah.
It's not, it's and with Alien and Predator, like with Alien, they're just trying to survive. They're trying to just evolve, grow, make more. That's it. There's really no mind to it. That's what they're going for.
Right.
With Predator, they've always been the ultimate hunter. They're kind of indifferent in the terms of they're always the villain, but it's just what they do.
Right.
So I think it's really cool to be getting like story background on one of these characters, especially because it's shown in the trailer that he's an adolescent predator. He's
Right.
not fully a part of the clan, he's not an established hunter, and he's going to prove himself on this hunt. And one, it's also super cool that we're getting a Predator film that's not taking place on Earth.
Yeah, and so they really have the freedom to do whatever they want with the narrative, with the alien species that they hunt. Like you can build an entire culture, on a planet And if fans don't receive it well, you can wipe it. Like it's super cool.
100%. And the cool things I loved about just the very opening beginning of that trailer, the Easter eggs they pumped into that so quick.
Yeah.
Like when you see the skull room, what's one of the first skulls that you saw there?
Yeah, bro, the Alien from Independence Day, which is my all-time favorite film.
And something else I thought was super cool is you can see they're tying the universes together. This
Yeah.
might be a point for later, but I'm bringing it right back, right in. You know, you have Elle Fanning who's playing the co-protagonist or antagonist. We're not really sure yet. We know you can kind of gauge she's some kind of a robot. She's not a person.
Right.
But then at one point you see her rebooting or something, and you see the Wayland Yutani logo over the eyes,
Which is crazy.
which is what exactly what we saw in Alien Romulus when the android was rebooting.
Yes.
So they're showing that connection between the universes. And my theory, if I have to guess, because obviously, like the Predator in this film, just from the trailer you get, he's out to hunt something that cannot be killed.
Right.
Just one, just so iconic right there.
Right.
But two, what the heck is a Wayland Yutani robot doing on that planet?
Right.
Because it's an alien world, it's not Earth. So if it's an outpost, what kind of planet is this? Because they don't exactly have the best track record of going to safe planets for those
No.
outposts.
No. And could you imagine what if like xenomorphs are there? Not that they have to do that, right? But it'd be cool. But it's like warm up, you know? It's like he just like disposes of xenomorphs like they're nothing, like as like this little intro kind of like encounter, and then like whatever he's truly hunting is there. That'd be crazy. Or if you do have
Other stuff
maybe
they've messed with is there.
yeah, where so there's stuff that they've, experimented on, and then you could bring one of those creatures into the next Alien film, or you could have what's basically been going on in the last three Alien movies, where, the xenomorph mates with some other species and makes some crazy hybrid, right? That's terrifying. Like imagine this thing like mating with like a dinosaur type creature, you know what I mean? Or whatever, right? And he's got a like it'd be insane.
Well, here's a couple other points we have to touch on from this trailer. One, we didn't only see one Predator in the trailer.
Right.
There
We
was
saw that
that giant
crazy
dude with the
like
armor and the white dreadlocks.
which was wild.
And I kind of have a couple theories on what that Predator's role could be. I'm either thinking it's an elder of the clan he's a part of, or it's an enforcer
Okay.
that's hunting down bad blood predators that have been excommunicated or kill other predators or something along those lines. And that's
Go
going to tie
against the
in.
code or something. Okay.
So if you have like this enforcer predator lurking, maybe this is a hunt this younger predator is not supposed to be on.
Right.
And his
Damn.
only option is evade capture and complete the hunt to show that he can do it. Or maybe this is just a true rite of passage. I don't know.
Okay.
But something I thought was really interesting that was touched on in the trailer in small ways. Anything on this planet looks like it's trying to kill him.
Yeah.
Like I did a few rewatches. I'm like, okay, that bush is trying to kill him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The spikes on
These
it.
the spikes and they're releasing what looks like some type of poisonous gas. Then you have literally at one point I looked back, it was like vines attacking him that he's chopping up.
Okay.
And this seems like a terrifying place that he chose to go on a hunt.
Right.
And then on top of everything, we saw humans in that trailer. Like there was a cluster of like humans coming down the street.
Damn, I must have missed that.
And all I'm thinking is that an outpost? Like, is this truly like there's an outpost on this alien planet and there's going to be some kind of a clash?
Bro.
And then is that clash going to be between him and the humans, or is it going to be between whatever he's hunting and the humans?
Yeah, could you imagine like, man, what if we get it to where like the humans are the villain, but like maybe he doesn't even want to kill them, right? Maybe he's like, no, like I need to kill this thing that I'm set out to kill. Like, what if we see that this guy is like, no, I only kill what I need to. You know what I mean? Whereas like I feel like in the other movies, like the Predator's like, if you're in their way, they're just gonna kill you, which he might, right? But like it may be one of those things where it's like, look, I don't want to kill you, but if you keep messing with me, I will, kind of deal to get to my goal.
But here's something else too. There's clearly some type of working together with him and the android.
Yeah,
So my question on that front is if Wayland Yutani's there, we know they do a lot of wacky and horrible experiments and it always leads to horrible things.
right,
So one, what are they doing on this planet? And two, what is making the android align herself with him? What do
right,
they need? You know what I mean? Because they're always trying to
right.
study something.
Yeah, no, it's definitely got to be beneficial.
Like even think about Romulus. Like Romulus is a total like white knuckle grip ride the whole way through.
Yeah, dude. It
And the
stressed me
entire
out.
time, the entire time, the android, once its programming is fixed, all it cares about is information for them. It doesn't care about anything else.
Right.
So they'll only coexist and co-work with somebody until their purpose is served.
Right. Which you see in Prometheus
And
too.
how is that going to counteract with a predator versus the human element? Like the
Right.
predator has one job.
Yeah.
There's not this complex, or maybe there will be that I'm not sure of, but there's not as much of that complex undertones. It's more of like, hey, I'm here, I have a mission, I'm on a hunt,
And maybe
and
the android like is the key to the predator being able to find what he's looking for, and then she
or
maybe
maybe it's
needs to
something
collect.
they've been studying.
Right.
Like there's a lot of wacky ways this film can go. And honestly, I'm just kind of hyped for it because there's
It's
so many
crazy
things
because
touched on.
when you watch it, it doesn't it doesn't scream predator to you. Like you could throw any other alien in there, like in the beginning of it, and be like, oh, whatever. But at the same time, like it does. You know what I mean? Like it does feel like the same world, but it's so different that I'm like, I don't know what I was expecting, right? I don't really know what I was expecting. Maybe it's because like the color saturation, everything is a lot brighter. He is a protagonist and not the villain. He's not lurking in the shadows. We actually get to see a lot of him too, and like a lot of times in the movies, like we see them in their armor, we see them invisible for a little bit, and then all we see is like an arm stabbing through something or like whatever, right? Like they really try to play that Jaws angle where it's suspenseful. The less you see of the predator, the better, right? Whereas in this, trailer alone, it's like he's in the whole thing, right? And we see, full body
Well, because he's
shots,
our main
without it.
character.
Right. And it's crazy, I think, like to get that much exposure for someone who's always lurking. It's jarring
Yeah.
almost.
And at the same time, too, we know that he's an adolescent. So the one thing you
True.
think is you go, wait a second, like, does he really know or does he have those tools available to him yet? Is that something you get later on? We don't
Right.
know. So something I think that's going to be really cool is that really deep setting into what like the rituals of the predator species are, like the different clans, like what they're looking to do, because you kind of just get it through storytelling from your human characters anytime they're around.
Right.
So the fact that you're going to get that true first person angle of like, hey, this is why we do what we do. This is what our culture is. This is how it's done. It's kind of interesting to see how it plays out.
No, for sure.
And clearly, we know from just seeing his ship, if it is his, he's not an inexperienced hunter, but
Right.
maybe there hasn't been any hunt of note.
Well, yeah, that's
Like
what I
if
was
you
trying to
think
piece
about
together
like
too.
the Independence Day alien, that's not exactly a terrifying adversary for a predator.
No, but they do have mind control.
Well, they have mind control, and if you encounter hundreds of thousands of them on a mothership, yeah, that's terrifying.
Right.
But if you just got one skull, I imagine that
Right.
wasn't a preposterously difficult hunt.
Unless it was a queen. It did look fairly large.
Okay, but the queen was the size of a
Well, only
an
in the sequel.
aircraft
Only
carrier.
only in the sequel. In the original, right? Like
We never saw it
I
in
guess
the
we didn't see
original.
the queen. We just saw, yeah. Damn, that's a good point.
But like I'm just throwing it out there. Like I have a feeling there's some level of like I don't know if it's disappointment or like he hasn't proven himself yet, but I feel like that's got to be an underlying tone of the film. Because why else would he get thrown in this crazy hunt? Like
Right.
Predators always like try to fight and hunt the strongest.
Yeah.
It's like, but we've never seen a predator fight something the size of a kaiju.
No. No. Damn.
Like that was a pretty wild shot when he's standing there with the sword and this thing comes barreling out. You're like, I don't even know what that is, but this is insane.
It gives me like Avatar vibes, but like brutal. You know what I mean?
I get what you mean because and I what I think honestly is one of the best things about this movie is the fact that they're doing things so differently. Like think about it. What we've had so far. You look at the original Predator, the Jungle Hunter, Arnold Schwarzenegger is your main character. Like just
Right.
hell of a way to introduce that character on screen.
Right.
Hunting down the elite special forces team. He's the last one to make it out. Then, you go to Predator 2. He's in the city in LA in the midst of like police battling with drug cartels, and this Predator is going around. You have this wild showdown.
Right.
And then you get your first hint at the elders when they show up and give him a gift
Right.
after he defeats the Predator.
Right.
And then, we got what, the first AVP after that.
Yeah.
So you get the backstory of the Predators creating the aliens and all that type of deal. And it was just such a wild experience. And I'm
Yeah.
also thinking the route that they've twisted it, not even twisted it, but played with it, is the Predators didn't truly create the aliens. They just found them and were like, these are the perfect things to hunt.
Right. Right. Which is
I
crazy
think
because
that's
like
more the
I feel like watching this movie, like Badlands, I feel like you're gonna look at whatever the hell he's hunting versus like a xenomorph and go, okay, well, a xenomorph doesn't really stand a chance. But then again, like, I don't know, man. The xenomorph, I feel like when it's on its playing field where it's like in darkness and hard to detect, like it probably
this
is
is also the
tough.
way I look at it. If you look 10 fights,
Yeah.
if the Predator and the Xenomorph, if the Predator has no armor or weapons, I think Xenomorph's taken it 6 out of 10 times.
If the predator has no armor or weapons, I think so
The
too.
Predator, I think, where they get their advantage is they're incredibly strong, so they're
Yeah.
stronger than the Xenomorph.
Right.
Xenomorph, but they're also loaded with super high tech weapons that can harm and kill the aliens without the weapon breaking down either.
And I feel like they're more intelligent. But then when you start looking at these hybrid xenomorphs that like are more human than alien, I don't know, man. That
Or
shit's
Pred
terrifying.
aliens.
Yes, terrifying.
But I think it's really cool that we're going to maybe get more background to see, like, are there different clans of predators that only hunt certain types of aliens?
Right.
Like, what is really, like, I'm kind of curious if we get any real inclination of like the hierarchy and like, because listen, that predator we saw with the white dreadlocks, that's something we've never seen.
Yeah, dude, look
So obviously
terrifying.
that's a high ranking individual,
Well, then,
I
like you
would
said,
assume.
like we look at Killer of Killers, the animated movie, and like those predators all look different too. Like one of them's huge, bro. He looks like the Hulk. You know what I mean?
Well, think about when they released back, what was it? Predators.
Yeah.
What was it with Adrian Brody?
Yeah.
They were way bigger and way scarier than the OG ones.
That's fair.
So I'm curious to see if that's something they explore more now too. Like, hey, there are different clans. There are clans that want to work with humans. There are clans that don't,
Right.
and how that all ties in. Because
Hey,
I'm pretty
man.
sure there's even a comic book run where like a human, like female, gets accepted into one of the clans.
Maybe. I know
And
Marvel's about to drop Predator Kills the Marvel Universe this summer.
well, I'll have to pay attention to that.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
But it's very cool because there's so much, like you said, where it feels like Predator, but it doesn't because there are
Right.
so many big differences. And that's going to be something that's so fun to me to explore because we've always kind of gotten just very in a vacuum. Their predators are either hunting humans or they're hunting xenomorphs. There's really
Right.
nothing else we've ever seen
That
on
we've ever
screen.
seen. Yeah.
So I think it's going to be cool to see something a bit different and kind of see like how it really ties in. If how do humans fit into the picture? Because if it's Wayland Utani, we know it's the future.
Right.
And is that something the predators maybe love that they keep creating new things, or is it something that they feel like they need to stop? I don't know if that's going to really be a
Right.
part, but it
It would
could
be
be.
cool if like when they do like reboot the whole franchise, like all these franchises, like maybe even get like Independence Day reboot since what was it Resurgence or whatever was so terrible. I kind of erased that movie from my memory, but um Weyland Yutani being the main overarching enemy. And here's the other thing. You know,
Which, if you think about it, in every movie they're in, they really are.
they
Like,
really
there's
are.
never a movie they did a good job.
They're like the LexCorp of like, their universe. But they also are rebooting Jurassic Park. And I know it's a long shot, but in the new Jurassic Park, there's like hybrids, and they said they're trying to take the franchise to new heights. And one of the main dinosaurs in the new Jurassic Park movie is they the people that created it, the designers for the actual species, said that they wanted to create something that looked like a xenomorph, a T-Rex, and whatchamadiel from Star Wars, a Rancor. So
Rancor.
they basically wanted to mix all three of those together. And I'm like, now I know Star Wars would never blend with that, but what if that was like Weyland Yutani was actually had taken over the, I don't know, the cloning the facility from Jurassic Park, or bought the park or something, and we don't find that out to the end, and they just do this giant interconnected universe throwing Jurassic Park in there because they want to find a way to take
See,
that franchise to
I will
something new
say,
over the top.
I like where your head's at. That's wild. But what I will say from what I've heard about Jurassic Park, the new Jurassic Park film, the dinosaur in the film is a mutant. Like it was
Okay.
something that went horribly wrong. It was not something they were trying to make.
Damn.
Because they mentioned in some of the later films that they use different DNA to like complete the gene sequences. And apparently, this park that's going to be in the new film, it's all the stuff that was either too dangerous or too messed up to actually display at the park.
Oh, good.
So that's why like the whole setup for the movie is so terrifying because they're going not only to a dinosaur infested island, but it's everything they didn't even think was safe to bring to the new park. Mind you, they had velociraptors and T-Rexes at that park, but that's beside the point.
Right. I just looked up
So
too
whatever's more dangerous than that, awesome.
the release dates for these projects. Killer of Killers is June 6th, 2 days before my birthday, which is pretty lit. And then Badlands comes out in November, first week in November. So we get a couple months in between. But like that's still awesome. Two Predator projects in the same, plus the Alien Earth
What do we
TV
know when
show.
Alien Earth is coming out?
It's this summer. I want to say it's very soon, actually. Let me see. Alien Earth. Let's see. Release date. And that is going to be, oh my goodness. It just says summer 2025. Do they not have an official date?
Well, even going off just that, you that it seems like we're going to get Killer of Killers, the Alien show in between, and then the new Predator.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then on top of that, and I know we're going a little off topic here, but you have Thunderbolts coming out this week. You've got the new Jurassic Park is coming out in July. Like there is a lot of stuff coming our way very quickly and a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, there's no official date for Alien. That's why we could figure it out. It's just summer 2025. So they could shadow drop this whenever. They've been releasing a lot of promotional material in the last 2 weeks. So I mean, hell, it could be July. Imagine it comes out at the same time as Killer of Killers. That'd be awesome because they're both on Hulu.
Yeah, Hulu releases, which that's going to be
Um,
crazy.
yeah. And also Alien Earth, I don't know if you knew this, was a pre is a prequel. It takes place 2 years before the original Alien movie,
Interesting.
which is kind of crazy. And I think Romulus was a prequel too, right? So they could.
Romulus was a sequel to
Oh, that's right, to Alien 1.
Alien. Yeah, Alien
Yes.
1.
Takes place between 1 and 2. Okay, yeah, that's right. Wild.
But yeah, they're creating a lot of material, but they're also giving us a lot of material that expands on the universe, which I never thought would happen. I
Same.
kind of thought genuinely like after AVP 2, I really
Yep.
didn't see much going forward, even though that movie was crazy.
Yep.
And then they released a couple Predator projects, like was it just called The Predator, the newest one they did that
The
had like the
new
kid, you know.
I thought that was called Predators, right? Let me see.
No, Predators was the one that came out back when we
Oh,
were
actually, you know what? It might have been The Predator. Yeah. I think you're right. Let me see. Predator franchise lineup. Um, so we have, yeah, it was after Predators was The Predator. Yeah, and then Prey.
which The Predator kind of did a couple things that were interesting, but outside of like two plot points, it was not good at all.
So The Predator, I don't really remember what happened there.
It was like the one with the Predator killer armor and like all that stuff that just never went anywhere.
Okay. Okay.
Like
Like
it had some
I
interesting
remember
points,
watching
but
it, right? Like we were in Cairo school at the time. Um, but I
so
don't
there
really
was some
remember
in
much of what happened in the movie. It was kind of like just an action film.
the yeah, like there were interesting points to it. One of the main ones was it was a predator that came to Earth to like help out Earth, but like it was very unclear how or why. And then some gigantic super predator comes hunting him down.
Yeah, and I there's like elements of time travel.
Possibly. But
Yeah.
it was in my opinion not a great, you know, add to the franchise. I felt like they were going somewhere and they just didn't deliver on the initial, and it kind of
Right.
just stuck there. So I'm very excited to see somebody who made a really awesome Predator film and Prey get a chance to expand on that and take the franchise somewhere new.
1000%. I need to go back and rewatch that too. It's been a while since I've seen it. Probably since its
Yeah,
release, actually, which is 3 years
I
ago.
watched it not might have been like a year ago I saw it, but I don't even think I actually finished it when I had the chance to rewatch it.
Right.
Because it is the Predator movies are movies that you need to, I don't want to say they're not background films. Like there's a
No,
lot
you
going
do need to
on.
kind of pay attention. Yeah.
They're suspenseful. Like you have to be like
Focused up.
kind of locked in and focused in for it
Yeah.
because there are a lot of subtleties in the movies. Like earlier on, they were more like, I don't want to say horror movies, they were more thriller films, like thriller sci-fi films.
Right.
And Prey also does a very good job where there's not a lot of back and forth with the characters. Like you get little bits here and there, but overall it's a very quiet film.
Yeah. Which I love.
So like if I do too, but if you're not paying attention like pretty aggressively, you're gonna miss things that are pretty
Yeah.
important.
And it's gonna take you out of it to where you're like, what? Next thing you know, something happens, someone's dead or something, whatever.
Exactly.
So yeah. Well, sweet, bro. Is there anything else you want to add, for hype to these films?
Honestly, I'm just super pumped. I can't wait to see how a lot of this is going to tie together because we know they're going to bring a ton of connections in just from the first trailer. And honestly, I'm just really pumped for a second trailer, even though lately they tend to give too much away. I'm really not opposed at this point. I want more.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, bro. Well, I guess we'll be waiting eagerly for June 6th for Killer of Killers. And then we'll probably do a breakdown on that once that releases as well. So be waiting for it.
Without a shadow of a doubt, we've got to do it.
All right, bro.
All right, everybody. As always, stay
Stay
nerdy.
nerdy.